Welcome to another episode of Prevailing Through Pain, where today our healthcare hero is James Coffey, co founder and owner of Passionate Home Services. Welcome, James.
Thank you.
Thanks for being on our podcast.
Thanks for having me.
So, James, as you and I were talking, we found out that we have a lot in common as far as where we started out with our humble beginnings.
Absolutely.
So, can you tell us a little bit about your humble beginnings and what people know today as Black Wall Street?
Yeah, I'm from Tulsa, Oklahoma. Born and raised there. Um, my family had a business on Black Wall Street, actually. And when all that occurred, the bombings and all the things that went down, um, it kind of changed the trajectory of our family. And I,
So, how old? No, you wouldn't have even been born when that actually happened.
I wasn't. It was my great grandfather.
Your great grandfather, okay.
Yes, and my grandfather was working for him.
Okay.
And when all that went down, it really changed the trajectory of our family. I went to Booker T. Washington High School. Um Mama went to Booker T. Daddy went to Booker T.
I think that's probably where all of the African American people would
Yeah,
have gone to school.
absolutely. Um,
Was it a high school then, or can
it
you
was a
remember?
high
It was
school
still it
when
was
I
a high
was
school.
there. We're raised on the north side of town, as you
Mhm.
know. The north side of town was the black folks, and the other side of town was the other people. And
Yeah.
it
So let's talk about your childhood growing up in Tulsa.
okay. Growing up in Tulsa, I it was tough. It was tough for me.
Mhm.
I think my mother, she was married to my father for a couple of years, and I think she was really kind of broken by my father. I mean, I think she allowed that to really break her, and she she struggled a lot with depression. Mama did get her education. She became a teacher. She went to Central State in Wilberforce, Ohio,
Okay.
and she was a teacher for 25 years.
Oh wow,
So
great.
that was pretty good. But I had four little sisters. I'm
Okay.
the only boy, and the
And the
oldest.
oldest.
Yes, and so I felt I kind of became the father figure,
Okay.
as you will, as best I could at that
Mhm.
time. And we but we struggled. I mean, um, Mama was a great teacher. She loved her children, but Mama, the depression and the paranoia, she struggled with that her entire life.
Mm.
I and so she would go to work and come home and did a great job at work. I mean, she'd come home and it'd be very difficult. She, a lot of times she'd sleep or,
Mhm.
um, she, she'd cry. She just, I don't know. She just seemed we couldn't get over what had happened to her with my father.
And it's as I get older, we didn't understand for years uh, what depression was,
Right,
what paranoia was. That wasn't something we people would typically say, "Oh, that girl's just crazy. Or that
right,
boy's just crazy."
exactly.
But it's real, and it's probably, if I was going to say for you, and I'll talk about that, maybe what even led you into wanting to do more for the the audience, the group that you work with, because of things that happened early on. Because I know it
Right.
kind of turned me into healthcare by some situations that I experienced with my grandmother being in the hospital. But I want to ask you, because you said your father. So I know you said that they broke up, went their separate ways. But was your father a part of your life when you were growing up?
Not much. He was always in trouble, in and out of jail, prison, actually.
Mm-hmm.
And but no. And then when he said he wanted to be, a lot of times, we'd set times to meet, and he'd never show up. So
Mm-hmm.
after a while, I just, didn't believe him anymore. A lot of times he'd want to meet, and I didn't want to do it anymore. And so after that, you know, I never saw him hardly, you know, for many, many years. And we didn't have very many male role models. I had an uncle, um, two uncles, but one was an alcoholic. He was a good man when he wasn't drinking, but he was an alcoholic, and the other was in California, so we really didn't have much. So I was raised by women. I went to Varick AME Zion Church, and it was 90% women, you know, and I learned a lot from them, but they couldn't teach me how to be a man.
Right.
And so I struggled. I mean, it was, and you know, I created this false narrative of what a man was, you know, this macho, you know, you don't back down, you know, like a lot of
Yeah,
black
right,
men
right.
do. And, you know, I just, you know, I got in trouble a lot because I wouldn't back down, you know, and I thought I was protecting mom. I thought it was my job to protect my sisters. Um, my sisters, two of them in particular, were getting involved in drugs, and I'm going out, you know, trying to protect them and keep them, you know, trying to control who they dating, who they seeing, anything I could do to keep them away from drugs and
Right.
anything negative. And but really, I wasn't equipped to do that, and I couldn't do that. I learned later on, but I loved them, and I
Yeah.
wanted to help them.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, I'm assuming this is your late teens, early.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, really, I mean, it started really early. I'd say hmm, 12, 13, I started trying to protect her because mom
Okay.
got involved with men that were not good for her. So when they were physical or when they would mistreat her, you know, I caught myself getting involved. Ended up at St. Francis Hospital one time because I
Really?
got involved in a situation, and I thought, you know, I was trying to defend her,
Wow.
and it
I
didn't.
used to work at St. Francis. It was really,
Yeah,
it's funny because I think back during the era that we were both in Oklahoma, two different sides of town, but
yes,
yeah, as they say, it's a small world. It's a big world, but it's a small world. The more you talk to people, you realize that
absolutely.
that
Yeah,
your paths probably crossed at one point in time.
right.
So after when did you? I know you left Tulsa, but
Yeah, I went
well,
to.
let me back up a little bit. So I know you're married.
Uh-huh.
So did you meet your wife in Tulsa or?
No, I went to Texas Southern.
Okay.
Elma Davis was a. I played violin actually. The way I ended up doing that, I mean, I don't know. Somebody gave some stringed instruments to the school because you know, black people typically didn't play a lot of
Right,
stringed
right.
instruments. So I really wanted to get out of class. So I started playing the violin. Ended up being pretty good, you know, winning contests. And
Really?
Mr. Davis got me a scholarship to Texas Southern. So I went down there, and that's where I met my wife.
Okay.
I had met her years before. We had a situation, and we both ended up in foster care. And we took a trip to Six Flags. It was a, you know, the big amusement park, and we met there. Kind of kept in touch through letters, but really got to know her when I went to Texas Southern.
So how old were you when you met her in foster care?
Oh gosh, I must have been 13,
Oh,
14.
well, she made an impression.
Yeah, she made a big impression. I mean, I never met anyone like her. Very positive and upbeat. Um, I don't know. I just liked her, and I thought she was pretty. You know. So yeah, it. So we stayed in touch. I mean, kind of mental support for both of us. She came from a challenging background as well, and kept in touch. Then when I went to Texas Southern, I found her, and we ended up getting married. Um, After that, you know, I didn't finish there. We went to the military together. We went to the Army. We wanted the GI Bill and other benefits. So we're both veterans. But she, I think, I know, for me, next to accepting God in Christ, my wife was the best decision
Yeah.
I have made in this life.
Oh,
Next to that,
that's
and
great. I'm still thinking back when you said you wanted to get out of class, so you learned to play the violin.
yeah,
And it's those moments, that as you say, when we were saying change your whole trajectory because of that,
Right.
that landed you a scholarship.
Absolutely.
And so I'm gonna say you must have gotten off into it to be able to play it so well.
I did. Actually, it was a stress relief. I used to just come home after school and just play it, you
Mm.
know, and I
Put all
really,
your feelings in it. It sounds.
yeah, I put everything into
Mm.
it, you know, and yeah, I got pretty good at it. You know, ended up being first chair. You know, I was invited to play in the Tulsa Philharmonic. I didn't do that, but
Mm.
I was invited. And but I do think that having that little success, and you know, I was always doing solos because I was first chair, and you know, people encouraging you and lifting you up. I think that helped me mentally change
Yeah.
the trajectory of my life.
Yeah.
Um,
And
'Cause
that's great that you had people lifting you up. I was going to
yeah,
say for me, so many years in Tulsa was, I felt like people were pulling me down.
right,
Whether it was someone that didn't look like me that was saying, you can't, you won't, we won't
right,
give you, you should be grateful we gave this opportunity. You won't go any further.
right.
And then for some of those that looked like me that were saying, well, why
Hmm.
do you want more? Why are you trying to be better than
Right,
everybody else? So
right.
you were fortunate if you had people early on that were lifting you up.
I had originally actually auditioned to go to Oral Roberts University,
Mm.
and I went to do that, and the man that I auditioned with told me you need to get rid of that violin. You'll never make it. And I told Mr. Davis, and he's like, no, you know, and that's really when he got to working on the
Mm-hmm.
getting me into somewhere, Texas Southern, Grambling, somewhere, and he had contacts there, and I was able to do that.
Yeah.
Um,
Thank God for people like him.
yeah, yeah, it was wonderful. Um, and then, you know, the military was another big help.
Mm-hmm.
I kept trying to come home because, you know, Mama was in tough relationships, and again, I thought I was supposed to protect her, and
Mm-hmm.
so I was actually going to leave the military, and I was very blessed. I had a colonel, African American man,
Mm-hmm.
and he explained to me and helped me understand that it would only make things worse. It wouldn't make things better if I
Right.
just left the military. But again, I thought I was responsible. You know, Mama. Um, I mean, there were many times, you know, she'd get up in the middle of the night. She'd think she'd hear something, this and that. And I was just always a protector. And
Mm-hmm.
even going to Texas Southern was a challenge. One of the reasons I did not make it there was because I wanted to go back home.
Mm-hmm.
And I did go back home. So Frida and I kind of separated until we went to the military. And but I also learned in the process, you know, reading and praying and studying. I wanted to be better. I didn't know how to do it,
Mm-hmm.
so I started looking for mentors.
Good for
I'm like,
you.
how can I do this? How can I get out of this situation? Um, I It was a struggle because I felt on one hand I needed to take care of them. I had sisters on drugs, and you know I didn't want them to be hurt or anything like that. It's like
Mm-hmm.
how can I fix this? Not realizing that I really couldn't fix it. They had to do it, but I I kept coming back to Tulsa. You know, even when I was in the military on all my leaves, I'd come to Tulsa,
Mm-hmm.
and I was very blessed. I'd get in the mess, but nobody knew about it, trying to protect them. Um, and ultimately, the two sisters that were on drugs, both of them committed suicide.
Mm-hmm.
Um, uh, it's 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 really interesting how trauma works, especially in our community. Um, I call it generational trauma. You know, we started back at had the issues at Black Wall Street, and you know, my grandfather, I didn't mention this, started gambling and didn't pay his debt, so he was killed in a craps game. And then, of course, my father was always in trouble. Um, Prison, he was shot 3 times by women. I don't know what the situation was, but so yeah, I started looking for a mentor, and
Mm-hmm.
I was really passionate about it. I mean, I um, I started identifying people that I respected and I wrote letters. I probably wrote 200. I'm serious. I mean,
So where did you find these people? You said people that you were, how did you
well,
find
who's who, TV, wherever. I was kind of crazy. I was looking for
them? No,
business
no, I get
leaders.
it. So,
Uh,
as you did a little homework, people that
yeah,
you, okay.
churches, all kinds of stuff. I would walk in. I walked into churches before. I was a member of one, but and there were mentors there. But I needed more than prayer.
Mm-hmm.
I needed an example. I needed somebody to walk with me, and I think that's what's lacking today in a lot of people. Because really, even in accepting God, um, my experience was really being for real is when I saw it acted
Mm-hmm.
out. I liked the way he treated his wife. I liked the way he did with his children.
Mm-hmm.
I liked the way he handled his business. So I wanted to know more about that person. And God was of course, a key ingredient in his life. And so, of course, I made it a key ingredient in mine. Um, and so I wrote hundreds of letters, and it was amazing. I was really naive, which is really a positive. Wanted to learn how to invest my money. So I wrote, I'm sitting in Barnes and Nobles, and there's that Fortune 500 richest people in America. So I write 20 or 30 of those people. My wife is like, okay, you tripping. You know what I mean? Those people can have secretaries and all these people are after them. Well, I got a response. I simply wrote a letter. I just told them, I don't want your money. I kind of told them a little bit where I came from. I just wanted a fair and unbiased opportunity. And I love my wife. I really wanted to be able to take care of her
That's great.
in a way. So I wrote, Ann Marion, who was in the Tandy group, Radio Shack, responded to me, a woman. And she told me to go meet with her, the head of her foundation, Tom Beach in Fort Worth. And so I went to see Tom, and Tom started helping me learn about mutual funds, a little bit about stocks, a little bit
Mm-hmm.
about this and that. So I started doing that, and and then I got another answer. It was different. And maybe this kind of led me toward healthcare too. His name was Jim McCormick. He um, he had polio. He was in a wheelchair, but uh, he had been successful. His success was made during his struggle. And I think part of the issue with us is we like comfort.
Mm-hmm.
Anything, people don't want to hurt. It takes discipline to save money. It hurts to work out. It takes some doing to keep your relationship together, to raise your kids. I mean, and people don't.
You said don't want the hurt. I think sometimes people just don't want to invest in that effort of whatever it's going to take
That's true.
to. Mm-hmm.
But all that is the cost. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's all. It's not comfortable
Right.
all the time. But
You're,
I
you're
tell
right.
people all the time, even with Jesus Christ, his greatest moment was not in healing people. It was not in, all the miracles that he did. It was in dying on the cross.
Mm-hmm.
So, to me, that's an example. I mean, you just got to struggle. You got to learn how to thrive and struggle. You know, I, you know, my father called me a few years ago, and he was dying,
Mm-hmm.
and I had forgiveness has been a big key to my success as well. He called me. He said, "Son, um, I, I need two things from you." I said, "Well, what's that?" He said, "I need you to forgive me. I need you to come to Tulsa. Please tell me, forgive me. I want to see you. And if you can, tell me you love me if you can. I mean, if you got a little bit of something in there,
Oh wow.
so I can leave this earth okay." Well, I didn't want to do it. I didn't see the reason for it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Nothing like that. But there's this thing. I believe in God, and it said honor your father. I didn't think there was anything to honor, but he was making an effort. He called me, and so I went to Tulsa, and he was in a hospice facility. Kind of walked back and forth, and went inside, and he started telling me his experiences in Tulsa, the discrimination, the beatings. He was even raped by a group of white boys,
Oh my gosh.
and things I didn't know. He mentioned his father. I told you he was killed. And so I forgave my father. But in doing that,
James, hold that thought. We're going to take a
okay,
pause and be right back.
Do you have a powerful story of perseverance? Have you triumphed over pain and want to share your story with the world? We're looking for inspiring guests to join us on the Prevailing Through Pain podcast. Head over to KarenSherry.me/guest. Fill out the form and let us know your story. Your voice could be the one to inspire others. Your experience can be the one to lift up someone else. Go to KarenSherry.me/guest.
So we're gonna. I want to go back to you were saying your father asked you to come see him for the forgiveness, and then telling you the stories. So I'm a firm believer that nobody is just born mean, uh, or it's something that happens when somebody's either raped or somebody's killed or
mm-hmm,
things like that. That if they didn't get whatever they needed to help them,
right,
is where you were saying generational. It just carries on because they were never able to let that go, and so unfortunately, it just reflects the next generation. So for you going to talk to your father, to let him tell you his story, I'm sure that opened your eyes up to trying to be more, I guess, empathetic
right,
to things that maybe he had hurt you all,
right,
during the years of growing up.
yeah,
So can you, just kind of finish talking about your conversation with your dad?
sure. Um, so I went in and, I saw him and he was crying. He thanked me for coming. And he told me his story, about all the abuse and the
Mm-hmm.
things he told me Tulsa was terrible. He just said, you just don't know how much African Americans suffered during that time. And,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of men, it's just a thing. We don't talk about it. And a lot of those things he hadn't talked about till that day, he said. And so I forgave him, and it was tough, but I told him I loved him because I really did.
Mm-hmm.
I just wanted more in my life.
Right.
And but what it did for me, instead of, and not only did it, well, let me say this. After I did all that, he said, "Okay, you can go now. I'm good. I'm ready to go to heaven." And but it not only did I see a sigh of relief from him, but it also released me.
Mm-hmm.
Made me, yeah. And so I left actually more determined to make a success out of my life somehow, not knowing how I was going to do it, but you know, um, one thing that I decided to do, there's a lot of negatives, and there's a lot of things that stop us, that you can self-imposed things that you can say and do that stop you from achieving. But
Mm-hmm.
I decided that I was going to really, really believe in God. I know people can say this person or this race or whatever is stopping you from achieving, but I'm like, okay, I believe in God, I don't. And I started trying to find my God-given calling. I mean, what am I here for? What how can I make a difference? And so I Jim McCormick, the man that I wrote that was in the wheelchair,
Mm-hmm.
actually I lived in Fort Worth. He came to Fort Worth, and I didn't. He got out his little wheelchair vehicle, and he we met at McDonald's. I'm like, oh, he broke, you know what I mean? So
I'm
I
gonna have
didn't
to
know.
buy his breakfast.
Yeah, exactly. So anyway, we sat down, we talked a while, and he um, he was really good for me. I mean, every time I would try to go negative, he point out some positives. And he talked about his life. I mean, he was dying, and he made a success in his business, advanced ergonomics, while he was dying because he
Mm.
didn't want his family to suffer. And I just wanted that. My letter just said, all I asked him was, I want to know what inside you drives you, despite the pain, the heartache. I know our lives are a little different, but how are you doing it? You know how? Because really, it's in the head. You know, it's all in
Mhm.
the mind, and the heart. You know, you get all caught up in what I've been through. You know, and it's easy to do. Um, but I was frustrated because, like, when does it end? I mean, I've been to college. I'm a veteran. Um, you know, I'm doing the things I think I need to do. And then, of course, in 2020, I get a call saying that my one sister took an overdose. 2021, they're asking me to come to Tulsa to identify another sister who shot herself in the face. And so I was, you know, when does it end? You know, this trauma,
Mhm.
you know, and, you know, so, you know, I was confused. But anyway, and then on top of that, I had new additions to the family. I think I mentioned this. Last December, no, December before that now, man calls me and he says, "Hey, I think I'm your brother." And I said, "No, I'm 60 years old. What you talking about?" And he, 23 and me, my granddaughter had done that, and he had done it, and he says, "Can we do a DNA test?" And I'm like, "For what?" What are you talking about? So anyway, I ended up doing it. He's in Atlanta, and then he says, "Oh, by the way, there's some twins that are on this 23andMe thing that are in Tulsa. And I think they may be kin to us. They were brothers as well." And so it's like, you know, so when does life settle down? Well, your identity has to be in Christ. You know, you can. I mean, um, I've I don't know, but
So
what
were
it
the
did,
twins your brothers?
yeah,
They
yeah, the twins were
so
my
you grew
brothers.
up thinking you were the only boy, and then
Yeah,
you find out you have three other brothers.
yeah, and a sister. I got a girl on Facebook. You know, she texts me too, Tammy, and she says, "I think I'm your sister," and that was several years ago. And it's like, okay, what's up? But you know, so you, I can see why a lot of these kids really don't know who they are, or
Mhm.
don't really. I mean, there's no foundation, you
Right.
know, and they don't know who they are. But to make a long story short, I really wanted to. One thing the streets did for me, there was no shyness. You know, I wasn't shy. I just
Mhm.
whatever. So I would step into churches and different places. I'm like, you know, I need to make a little money. I need to be able to take care of my family. So this is crazy. And I don't know. I went to Jake's church and nobody would see me. So I went to Highland Park and I walked in and they said, "Are you a member?" And I'm like, "No." "You need to be saved." I'm like, "I think I'm good there." I said, "I need a mentor. I love my people. You know, I've been to Jake's church, been to Evan's church. I'm trying, I need somebody to help me learn how to take care of my money and take care of my family, you know,
Mhm.
and, you know, not that, um, I just knew a lot of money was there. I mean, and so eventually I was introduced to this man named Bud Smith, and you know they kept kicking me out to churches, and then Bud really embraced me. He thought I was bold, and you know, and he started working with me, and I've always taken care of people. That's been my life. My sisters. I take care of Mama now. 6 months after my second sister killed herself. Mama had a stroke.
Mhm.
She couldn't handle all that, and even though Mama and I, you know, we weren't as close as I would have liked, and still aren't, but because she saw my daddy in me, and she held
Mhm.
on to that for
Mhm.
years, you know, and still does. And but I love Mama, you know, and so she was a St. Francis, and they called me and they told me that she wouldn't be able to live by herself anymore. She was a school teacher and had her own place and all that. And so I brought her here. And
Mhm.
6 months later, my mother-in-law had a stroke. So
Oh
I have
wow.
them both. And so but it helped me because as I went and talked to folks, they saw that me caring for people was not an act, you
So
know.
let me ask you this though, because I know at one point in time you were a foster parent.
Yes. Well, let's go. Let's go back a little bit. After I accepted God, Christ, for real,
Mm-hmm.
I um, I wanted every kid to know what that was like. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
you know, it gave me hope. I mean, you know, once I really, you know, and my wife Frida was a Dallas police lieutenant, and she was arresting a lot of young people, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and she's like, um, she got into the work really kind of as a mission. I mean, um, and because she also wanted to be there when to help people to prevent the injustices.
Mm-hmm.
There's many times that she said to me, if I wasn't there,
Right.
there would
Would
have
have
been
been a different
it would
story.
have been a different story. So she stayed there 29 years. I kept trying to get her to quit, but that's what she wanted to do. And so she was like, James, can we do something about it? I'm like, what do you mean? She said, well, how about taking some of these kids from Oak Cliff and trying to help them? I said, Frida, I didn't really have a father. I don't know how to do that. She said, yeah, but that's exactly why we need to do it. And so I took in some, and again, it's that passion. I mean, I didn't have that fear. I mean, I went to um, uh, Ron Kirk. I said,
Mm-hmm.
hey, you know, I sat in his office for a while till he would see me. And I said, I have these kids, and I really want to help them. I mean, you know, my wife's police officer and this and that, and but I need some help. You
Mm-hmm.
know, I got a whole lot of love, but I don't know what else.
Yeah.
And so he agreed, and then the mayor of Fort Worth, where I was living, Mike Moncrief, got involved, and then I started talking to retired teachers associations, and I had a tutor there every day except Sunday, and so we started teaching the kids. Um, you know, so the kids started learning. You know,
And
because
how many?
I ended up with 8.
8?
Yeah, because you
Wow.
learn it's not what, you know, I had psychiatrists telling me all these diagnoses and all that. You know, I happen to know they have, if they see you, they have to give you a diagnosis to get paid,
Mm-hmm.
okay? So I um, I didn't really go for that, you know, and I also held my kids accountable. You know, they'd cry and jump up and down and talk crazy, but when they finish, they still got to clean up your room. You know, you still have responsibilities and things to do. And so um, I had a whole host of support because I went out looking for, I don't know if you know, Tea and Wintress Ware, and there was a bunch of people that were helping us out. And I uh, it made a huge difference. I mean, they ended up, the Dallas Morning News came out, and a bunch of media things, talk shows, this and that, which I really wasn't interested in. I'm pretty simple. You know, I just want to, for me, it's not what it looked like,
Mm-hmm.
it's what it is. And that's what you have to teach people. A lot of people want to showboat and,
Mm-hmm.
you know, it's what it looks like to the world. It's not about that.
Right.
You know, it's about,
But your story was a story that needed to be out because I mean you never know. And I understand what you're saying because I feel as though I'm a humble person and and it like you said it's not about who we are, what we do, but it's that thing if God is using us to
right,
do those things. And so with someone looking at the story that you did, you won't know, but I'm sure there were many people that you encouraged to go do more for a community of children or people that were in need. So
right.
and I know you're a little, as you say, you humble, don't like the story told, but the with the morning news that introduced you to another channel of people. So could you?
It did. And I think that's when I did not realize how much that would help me in my career,
Mm-hmm.
you know, but I didn't realize how far reaching the Dallas Morning News was. I'm thinking about Dallas. All of
Yeah.
a sudden, Tyler Perry called.
Right.
All of a sudden, seriously, some of these people from all over, black people that had some success, and other folks started calling and they're saying, hey, how can I help you with these kids?
Mm-hmm.
And so what happened was, I was working in the hospital, and I um, Bud Smith, like I told you, he was my mentor. But I was working at Zell Lipsy in the head trauma unit, and I got a patient, VIP. We were kind of have a lot of patients then, but I got a patient, and he told me, and I thought it was a joke, you know, because he head trauma, that he helped get, you know, he was the owner of Chili's and on the border, and he started Corner Bakery, and I thought it was funny. I just did, because you know I didn't, you know, and he wanted me to go home with him, and you know, I I thought it was a joke, but then he asked me if I would come for an interview and just talk to him, and I went to talk to him, and there was him and Ross Perot was his best friend, and so I interviewed with them, and you know, I didn't know if I wanted to do it, but then Frida's like, James, it could help us, but not only that, use that and bring it back to our community. You know, you know. So what happened was I started working for Mr. Perot, not Mr. Perot, Mr. Brinker, and he was doing presidential fundraisers. I'm just pushing him around in the wheelchair, but I got to know some of those people. He was doing all kinds of events, and so I got to know him. And after he passed, they asked me if I was, you know, some of his friends asked me if I was interested in starting the company, and I did. I started Passionate Home Services, and the thing about it is, you know, even to this day, I mean, a lot of my clients are their friends. You know, I ended up in a place that I didn't know I could be, and but yeah, I've had. They say when they interviewed me sometimes the who's who of Dallas, and it's just it's crazy. I mean, it's been just a blessing, and so what that has led me to do, I mean, I've been able to help some of the foster kids. One of them's a lawyer. She's doing. All of them have done well.
All 8 of them, right?
Yeah, and I'm using this platform. Um, I didn't choose to just work in the Highland Park, Preston Hollow area, but it kind of chose me. And so I try to find people that work for me that want to do more, and I put them together. Because see, prejudice is there, but it goes out the window sometimes when you're sick and you really need the help. And so you know, I have people who've done well in real estate and other areas, not really even related to me, that I was able to match. And same thing with fundraising and different things like that. Um, uh, I've tried to use this platform. When George Floyd happened, a lot of people came to me. I was just couldn't believe it. A lot of the churches over there are like, we don't know what to do. They'd have these racial groups, this racial inclusion and all that. And I'm like, well, are there any blacks on that group? No. Well, how you gonna do it, you know? And so I'm trying to I have used that platform to help a lot of folks, and I want to continue to do that and partner with other businesses, and maybe, you know, some of these folks, and you know, we can help each other somehow. But
And then you know, that's what it's all about.
yeah,
I believe God blesses us to be a blessing,
yeah,
and what you said, and helping each other. That's how we're blessed.
yeah,
Because if we think it's all about us, we miss the whole boat.
yeah,
And I listened to you where you said that, you know, you needed mentors,
yeah,
and today you're that person
yeah,
for people that, like you. I'm listening where you said they coming to you asking you, how can we do this, how can we do that. And
yeah,
a lot of times we don't see the strength that we have in our own selves,
right,
but when you're saying they're asking me, but they're asking you because they see, they see the greatness that you've become,
yeah,
and so I just, I thank you for being the person that you are, that said, I don't know how to do this, but I'm not afraid to ask.
right,
Because if we fail, my thing is we fail because we fear of asking, we fear of success, and so, I just, your story is a phenomenal story.
thank you.
And the people that you've helped along the way, um it's unfortunate about your siblings, because I kind of feel as you were telling that story, you're still carrying that weight on you.
Yeah.
But their destinies weren't your responsibility. You
Right.
did what you could do for them, and I'm sure they
Yeah.
loved you. They loved you for it. I have a brother that's battled with drugs for probably the last 25 or so years, and I pray for him. He does well. He's doing well right now.
Yeah.
And I hope he'll watch this podcast, and it'll give him the strength to keep doing well.
Yeah.
So I know you have some exciting things that you're looking at getting off into as a podcast. So can
Right.
you?
Well, I want to do a podcast. I guess kind of similar to yours, but
Mhm.
um, just like I didn't know. I mean, I think a lot of people are ignorant of how to get out of the situation, because I certainly was, and I want to bring people on, like I said, similar to you, that can help people, young people in particular,
Mhm.
learn to how to navigate, what to do, and not to lose hope. Because there were times I thought I was hopeless.
Mhm.
Obviously my sisters felt that way, and but it's not.
Yeah.
There are people that will love you and help you as long as you're willing to do the work,
Right.
as long as you want to change. Um, and because I didn't feel, first time somebody told me they loved me that was a man, I thought he was gay. I'm just telling you straight. I
Yeah.
thought he was
Yeah.
trying to, I was freaky, I didn't know a thing. I mean, I really
You
was.
love me. What you mean?
Yeah. I mean, he's like, man, I love you. And, I really didn't know him. It was Mr. McCormick, the guy that came to Fort Worth. And I think, and also, I think a lot of us create that false narrative of how to be a man,
Right.
and yeah, I've done a lot of prison ministry, and I hear it there, and yeah.
Okay.
So,
Well,
but
I'm
thank you.
excited about the your podcast, and I'm gonna stay on you to make sure that you do it, because I love the fact that you said you want to be for your guests to be people that can help other people understand how to navigate through whatever it is that they're trying to do, because like I said, the only thing that stops us is ourselves. And some of us don't know how to seek other resources. So for you to say you want to present that is wonderful. So what would you tell that young man that's struggling right now with, I don't feel that I'm loved, I don't know how to? What would you say to that young man today?
Well, first of all, for me, it was find people that have what you want. Find men that have the qualities that you want. I mean, look for them, seek them, and it doesn't come easily. I mean, I had a lot of doors closed. People didn't have time. I wrote the same number of letters to African Americans as I did to others, and sometimes people don't respond, but you keep knocking. You keep knocking until you get an answer, and it'll happen for you.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's true. So where can our viewers find you?
Well, right now, Passion Home Services. I have a website. If they can text me, they can call me.
Okay. What's your website?
PassionHomeServices.com.
PassionateHomeservices.com.
Yes.
Okay.
And if I can help anybody, I mean, if somebody needs a job in the home care world and they have some experience and they have other dreams that they don't think they can reach because they're limited by that, call me.
Yeah, we're so much alike. You heard that? Give him a call.
Yeah.
Well, we're not gonna put his number out there, but find him on social media, or find me and I'll connect you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for being here.
Well, thank you.